Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Sunday service at Living Beyond Limits. I'm Reverend Jennifer Spear. We are a part of Centers for Spiritual Living. So glad you showed up this morning. And for those of you watching online, welcome also to our service. So let's begin this service today by reading our mission statement that's on the front of your bulletin. We are a sanctuary where people can discover and reveal the presence of God within their own being and experience their oneness with all life. Through the realization of this inner presence of love and peace, we give way to the evolutionary impulse of the divine and become a beneficial presence in the world. So that's what we're doing here at Living Beyond Limits, is we're giving ourselves the opportunity to move back into that felt sense of, oh yes, I am living this life in spirit. And oh yes, my own innate nature is that of spirit. That I am that here expressing, as is everything in this material world, here as that presence expressing as the thing that it is. And you are each here expressing as your own unique individuality, which is the personification of spirit. And what that means then is, if you are that here in form, that then all of those qualities and characteristics and attributes of that infinite presence are within you. All of the love, all of the peace, all of the intelligence, the wholeness, the light, the goodness, all of those things of spirit are yours by divine birthright, because that is who you are, what you have come from, and what you have come as. And so as we awaken to that and live from that, because we remember that, we come to the world differently. We don't come from a place of scarcity or a place of want. We come from a fullness within. And as we do that, we come to the world with more generosity and care and openness, because we feel safe. We come from our own wholeness and our own authentic power. We come as a greater contribution and as a greater beneficial presence in this world when we are aware of our own spiritual nature. And so I thank each and every single one of you for saying yes to this path that you are walking, for your dedication to your own spirit and to spiritual living, and for being the presence that you are in this world. I thank you for that. Well, is there something that you would like to have, or something you would like to do, or something you would like to experience that you're not having or doing or experiencing right now in your life? Do you have anything? You know, maybe you would like to have greater health, or maybe you'd like to have more money, or maybe you'd like to have greater harmony in a relationship that you are in, or maybe you'd just like to have a relationship, an intimate partner relationship, or maybe you want to have more friends or inner peace. You know, I think we all have desires of things that we want to have, and things that we want to do, and things that we want to experience. Having desires is part of being a human being. And I also think having those desires is actually one of the things that propels us to grow and to expand and to discover more about life and to discover more about ourselves. That might actually be the purpose of having desire in our lives. We all want to create that life of our desires. We want to lead a rich and a fulfilling and a satisfying life, a life that is free from discord and free from disease and disharmony and lack and want. And so two of the principles that we teach here at Centers for Spiritual Living is that God gives freely all of the time. And God gives freely all of the time because it is the nature of the absolute to express, and to express into and as form. That's what it does. And the second principle that we teach is that all the good there is already ours. And so if all the good that there is already available, is already ours, and if that one infinite creative intelligence of the universe is always in expressing, why then are we not experiencing the good that we desire? Why is it then that we aren't already experiencing perfect health or experiencing financial prosperity? Or why do we not have all of the friends that we want or the love of our life that we want? Why don't we already have inner peace if that's the thing that you're desiring? Why don't you already have harmony in your relationships? Spirit can only express where there is an adequate opening. Think about like weeds or wildflowers. The only thing that weeds or wildflowers need to grow is to have a seed, to have soil, to have water, and to have adequate light. Given the smallest crack in a sidewalk, that seed will put down roots, and given water and given adequate sunlight, that weed will grow, and sometimes into something that's 3 feet tall that's flowering beautifully. So that means then if we want to have something in our lives, if we want to experience something, we must create the necessary conditions for it to take hold and grow and flourish and become the thing that we want. But it begins with our consciousness. And so Patricia Diane Cote Robles, in her book Raising Consciousness, The Shift from Separation to Oneness, says, trying to change the physical conditions without changing my consciousness is trying to change the reflection in a mirror without changing the object that is causing the reflection. We all know that would be silly. You have to change what's causing the reflection back into my life, because the law just reflects back according to our consciousness. And so I think then that means if there's something that you want to experience or have or do, there are 4 components, just like for that seed that we need to have in place in our lives. You must have your intention, which is planting that seed, setting your intention, not just hoping that you'll have this thing in your life, not just wanting to experience this thing or do this thing or be this thing, but to actually intend for it to happen. Put your intention that you are going to do this. The second thing is your beliefs. Your beliefs become the soil that seed gets planted in. And so the soil that you're planting that seed in, is it healthy soil that's going to nurture and support that thing you want? Or is your soil full of rocks and other weed seeds that might choke out that thing that you desire? Is it moist and is it rich? Or is it kind of barren? The third thing is your focus. How much focus you're putting on what it is that you want. Because that becomes the water. Are you giving this desire of yours adequate water to actually flourish? And the last piece, number 4, is like actions. Do your actions flow with what it is that you want? Do they support what it is that you're desiring? Are you moving in that direction and acting if? If you are wanting a relationship, are you putting yourself out there where you meet people, or are you sitting on your couch at home by yourself? Your actions have to support what it is that you're wanting in your life. All 4 of those things need to be facing in the direction of where it is that you're wanting to go. And so the first one, which is the easiest, is just getting clear about what you want. You all know what you want already. So you set your intention to actually have this thing. Set your intention. That means you make up your mind that this is what you're going to do. You have conviction. You're firm. You have a stance. That's easy. The second one is the one that can be a little more challenging. And that's the one at looking at your beliefs. And do your beliefs support you manifesting that thing that you want to have in your life? That's often the biggest challenge. And one of the reasons that becomes a challenge is because so often we base our beliefs on our past experiences. And if you haven't already experienced this thing that you want, or if you're not experiencing it right now, oftentimes we tell ourselves, I can't have this, or it's not possible, or it's not going to happen because it never happened before in my life. We base what we think the future and the present is going to be on what our past was and what our experiences were. But you know what? Principle is not bound by precedent. That infinite creative intelligence of life is not bound by what has already happened. Love is not bound by how much love you've already experienced. Do you see that? Creativity is not bound by what art you've created or the life you've created or what you've done. It's not bound, it's infinite. Good is infinite, not bound by what you've already experienced. It's like thinking that what athletes have already done is the only thing they will ever be able to do. And we know that that is just simply not true. Every day there are records that are being broken of what athletes are doing. And so I'd like to share a story with you that probably a lot of you already know. It says on the morning of the 6th of May, 1954, Roger Bannister did the impossible. At the time, the sub-4-minute mile was described as sport's greatest goal. Something, quote, as elusive and seemingly unattainable as Everest. Another apparent impossible human achievement that has already been conquered. Indeed, Bannister had been told by physiologists that not only was running a 4-minute mile impossible for an athlete to do, but attempting to do so was dangerous to your health. He was told to believe that if he did that, he would probably die because you can't push your body that far. So the 25-year-old Oxford University medical student was regarded as Britain's best middle-distance runner, but had recently experienced crushing disappointment after finishing 4th in the 1,500-meter race at the 1952 Olympics. He had been expected widely that he would be the winner of that race. The following months saw Bannister toying with the idea of giving up athletics, before he decided to set himself a new goal of becoming the first man to run a mile under 4 minutes. Bannister set out to achieve the holy grail of athletics. He thought he would give up. Do you ever think that? You're going to give up on this desire because it hasn't already happened, because it's going to be impossible, because you can't possibly have this. We're at the race. The first 2 laps saw Brasher set out at front with a speed Bannister at the time feared was too slow. In fact, the tempo proved to be just right, with Brasher reaching the halfway mark 1 minute 58 seconds. Cathaway then took up the mantle halfway through the 3rd lap, with Bannister following intently behind. As the crowd's roar began to get louder, and sensing the moment of a lifetime, Bannister took his cue on the far straight of the last lap, lengthened his stride to speed past Chataway around the final bend. Throwing in all his reserves, he broke the tape and collapsed on the ground. Recalling his burst of speed on the home stretch, Bannister said, "The earth seemed to move with me. I found a new source of power and beauty, a source I never knew existed." As the announcer began announcing Bannister's finishing time, he was rendered inaudible by an ecstatic crowd, which erupted upon hearing the word 3, covering up the confirmation of the rest of the time, which was 3 minutes and 59 seconds, and history had been made. Here's an interesting part. And as is often the case with world records, once Bannister proved a human could run a mile under 4 minutes, it left the world stunned and helped shatter a collective mental barrier. The following month, Australian John Landy beat this new record. While in 3 years that followed that historic day in Oxford, a further 15 runners would also beat that record. Bannister had changed the expectations of possibilities through the achievement of his goal. He had helped shift the entire paradigm through which other runners viewed the world, and in turn helped redefine what the human body could achieve. So that's part of the problem, why we don't achieve our goals and our dreams and our desires, because we live in this collective pool of belief. You see that after he broke that mile, it shifted the collective belief, and other runners decided they could do this also. Once they decided they could do it, realized that it was possible, it opened the way for that to happen. So we're living in this collective belief, which is our cultural belief, and the collective belief of humanity, which believes all sorts of things, like aging is an actuality, and your body starts falling apart, like illness and things like flu season and cold season, like you can't do certain things after a certain age. There are all sorts of limiting beliefs in that collective pool. And so if you are not consciously making sure that your own personal beliefs and thoughts make for good soil for the thing that you are planting and wanting to grow, you will just get the law of averages. You will get what's in that collective consciousness of limitation or of lack or of not being able to, or you're too old or too tall or too short or too fat or too whatever it is, all those two things that live in that collective consciousness. You have to make sure that your individual beliefs actually support the thriving of that desire that you have, rather than what the collective is thinking. And so if you're not manifesting your desires, then it behooves you to look at what your beliefs are, what your ideas are that are in opposition to what it is that you want. If you're wanting a relationship, what are your ideas about other people, about relationships in general, about yourself? Do you have some belief, I'm too old to have a relationship, or there's no good people out there, or relationships never work out, or whatever those beliefs are? So the thing is, you discover what those beliefs are, and then you transform them with words of capital T truth. Small t truth is what you're experiencing in this world of form. And it's constantly changing, constantly morphing, constantly moving. It's never static. It's kind of like saying, oh, it's a cloudy, cold day out there today. It may be cloudy today, yet the sun is still there. The sun never goes away. The sun is always present. That is like the capital T truth. What is the eternal, unchanging truth about life, about this universe, that I need to know to support me in my desires? So truth is eternal and unchanging. So the small t truth is you might be experiencing an illness. But the capital T truth is that there is a universal law of order that expresses itself in everything. It is the very foundation of life itself. The truth is, harmony is ever present. Harmony is everywhere in everything. That doesn't change. That is taking your attention from this small t truth of I have an illness to, oh, there is this unchanging principle that is expressing itself in my body that is order. It's an order and a harmony that I live in and that lives in me. It's shifting the beliefs and your focus. The truth might be that you're experiencing a lack of money in your bank account, but the capital T truth is we live in an opulent universe. We live in a universe that is continuously expressing, continuously unfolding, an endless creativity that creates boundless opportunities in this world of form. There is only that absolute intelligence and creativity. It is everywhere. And so what that means then is you are not bound, and your life is not bound because you're living the life of spirit, which is the only life there is. And if you want more friends or you want a partner, you know what? There are 331 million people in this country alone. Like, that's not a big enough pool to choose from. So what are you believing about people? What are you believing about yourself? What are you believing about relationships? Because the truth is, love is everywhere. Love is in everyone. So what you do is you become the qualities and the characteristics that you want in a relationship. You become that on the inside so that you can attract from the outside, so that it can mirror, because you are mirroring into your life what it is that you want. Ernest Holmes said, "The nature of God is infinite. Therefore, there is no power, no law to sustain anything of a discordant or a limited nature. There is nothing out there to sustain anything of a discordant or a limited nature." So what do you do then? I think first you get clear about what it is that you want. You set your intention. Then you embody beliefs that support that desire becoming manifest and real in your life. You find out what those limiting ideas are, the ones that are holding the things in place that you don't like, and you replace them. And some of the ways that you replace them is discovering them and then using affirmations for their opposite. What is the opposite of what I'm believing? What is the capital T truth here? You use affirmations and you use affirmative prayer to shift your perception so that you come to believe something new. We have this catchphrase that says, change your thinking, change your life. That is true, but what you really need to do is change your beliefs and change your life. Because the law acts on our subconscious beliefs, not necessarily the thing you're thinking in that moment. And so you use affirmations and you use affirmative prayer to change your beliefs. Raymond Charles Barker said, "When you do your daily treatments, affirm the desire of your heart. Declare your highest vision of good and that it is so now. Not next year, but right now. You may say that is illogical. If you investigate the miracles of Jesus on the basis of logic, you would have to stop before you even started. Jesus could stand before a sick person and deny that there was a sick person. He didn't say, 'Oh Lord, heal this sick woman.' He said to the woman, 'You are well.' And she was. He didn't stand in front of 5,000 hungry people and say, 'Oh Lord, I hope this bread lasts.' 'Oh Lord, feed these hungry people.' He gave thanks that there was more than enough bread, and there was. That is what you do in treatment. You look at your problem, but refuse to accept the problem, and instead you accept the solution. You accept the demonstration now. Not next year, not tomorrow, but now. What is the truth now? I live in an opulent universe whose nature is to express. You tell yourself, what is the truth now? To move your thinking from lack and limitation and scarcity to the truth. And then you keep knowing that truth until you manifest what it is that you want. You don't give up. Because that's really what happens so often is we have something that we want and then we lose our focus. We live in this fast-paced society and the society of instant gratification. So we think all we need to do is do these affirmations one day and then it's going to fall into my lap. I read something this week, and I tried to find it again to read to you, and I couldn't find it. Ernest Holmes was talking about doing the inner work in order to have friends. And he was saying that what you do is you sit down every single morning and you visualize that people are loving and kind and welcoming, and you visualize yourself with this open heart and having friends, and you feel this and you sense this, and you do this every morning for 6 months. And you will be so surprised how much your life changes. For 6 months. When have you stayed with an affirmation or a treatment for 6 months? Anyone? Do you give up before then? Because you lose focus or you think it's not going to happen. Ernest Holmes also said, theoretically, there's no reason why the first treatment should not meet any situation, provided there is a complete realization. Because realization and accomplishment are one and identical. The question is whether or not one has gained a complete realization in treatment. The proposition can be stated this way. There is but one treatment given, whether it takes 10 minutes or 10 months. If and when the treatment is complete, a demonstration will be made. That means you stick with it. You keep working on your consciousness. You keep working and weeding out those beliefs that don't support what it is you want and replace them with the truth so that eventually it cleans out and then you become this open space for the seed to take hold and to grow into what it is that you want. So we use the tools of mindfulness to pay attention to what we're thinking and what we're believing. We use the tool of inquiry, which might mean sitting down and journaling to figure out what is it that I'm believing that's contrary to what it is that I want. What have I experienced? What am I holding on to? It takes sitting with it to discover what that is. And then you change your beliefs and your attitudes and your feelings and your expectations through using affirmations and using affirmative prayer. And then the fourth and the last thing that you do of those four is you act on it. You get out there and do something. You do something toward that goal. That might mean going out where there are lots of people if you're looking for someone to date, where you can meet new people. It might mean going on a dating site. It might mean getting out of your house. It might mean asking your friends, do you know anybody who might introduce me to somebody? But it means doing something toward your goal, not just sitting on your couch. If you want more money in your life, it might mean looking at creative ways you can express yourself in this world that are of benefit to someone or something. Because it's a law of circulation that we live in. So what can I give of myself? How can I express my own creativity in this world so that I can be reimbursed and be in this flow of life? How can I express my own gifts and talents? And it might mean getting out there and looking at websites that post jobs or going to a job fair or something where it can kind of stir your imagination and your creativity and spark ideas in you. But you do something besides just tell yourself the truth. You move in the physical world as well because we are also physical beings. It's kind of like you will never ever be able to ride a bike by just thinking about it. You can learn all you want about bicycles and study them and the design and how they're built, but you'll never be able to ride unless you actually get on the bicycle and pedal. You have to actually do something. So you do the inner work and then you go out and do something in the world that moves you toward that thing. So here's your recap. If you want something, you set your intention. 2, you embody ideas and beliefs that support that thing coming into form. And you eliminate or change the ones that don't support that. You replace those beliefs. You keep your focus on what it is that you want. Remember, Ernest told that story about doing it for 6 months. You keep your focus on what you want. You keep doing your work. And then you move in that direction to create what it is that you want in your life. All of those 4 things looking forward in the direction that you want to move. And so I'm going to close with a quote from Ernest Holmes that Barbara read part of, I think, or it's very similar. It says, as an individual, you may consciously unite with the presence of good. Just keep right on knocking at the doorway of your consciousness until every no becomes a yes. Every negation, and affirmation. Every fear, a faith. You cannot fail if you remain steadfast. Finally, the fetters of bondage will drop from you. You will walk out of your self-imposed prison to discover that the door was never really locked. The windows were not actually barred. You were merely bound by the chains of your unbelief. And so blessings to every one of you on this path of discovering your own divine potential, of discovering the magnificent goodness of life that is just waiting for you to embody it so that you can give way to it in this world. Blessings to all of you. And so I invite you to join me in an affirmative prayer. And so that is exactly what we do as we look to God, to that infinite creative intelligence, that living presence, the force and source of all good, for it is the good itself. For God and good are synonymous. And so we recognize that we are living this life in this realm, this atmosphere of good itself. That good is the very nature of life, the nature of the life of the divine, the life that we are each living. And I know that we cannot be separate from this one, for we are here as individuations of that power and that presence and that life and that goodness. That it surrounds us, it envelops us, it permeates every single thing in our lives, and it is here for the taking. For the gift has already been made. It is simply ours to receive. And so today I claim and know that anything and everything that has been blocking the full expression of the things that our hearts desire, right now, whatever has been blocking that simply dissipates into the nothingness from whence it came. For there is no law, there is no spirit that supports restriction or delay or hindrance or lack. That instead that presence is a constant and endless and opulent flow. And so today we just recognize that we are already standing in that flow, like the flow of a river, and that we move with it, and it moves us gently and magnificently towards the manifestation of our heart's desires. So today we open ourselves. We set our intention. We let go of limiting beliefs, and we move in the direction of that which we desire. And our good is assured, for it is God's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. That is its nature, to express, to unfold, to be that which it is, for it cannot be anything else or anything less than the fullness of that which it is. And so I speak this word also about every other person on this planet, knowing that right where they are is also this living presence. And that it is also the life that they are living. That intelligence of the universe resides within every single person. That the good of the universe is the thing that sustains them and carries them, buoys them, expresses through them and all around them. That peace is ever present. And I know that this is the truth for every person, for every politician, for every decision maker. Wisdom and intelligence, goodness, peace. And so today we just give thanks for this truth. And in openness and in gratitude, I invite you to join me in saying, and so it is. And so I invite you to repeat after me. Good fills my life now.
Good fills my life now.
I step into it. I own it. I celebrate it. And so it is.